Hello and welcome. Today we're going to do a kit guitar, a Flying V that I got from Rocktile, and it should be an all mahogany guitar, and you get all the parts. We're going to look at that later, but you get all the parts that you need and just assemble them. But it comes unfinished, and that is what this video is going to be about today. Because today we are going to prep the bare wood, and we're going to lacquer it, and we're going to put an awesome color on this guitar. I have a scheme in my head how I want it, and I think it's going to be just amazing. I can mention that today's sponsor is Luthier, and it's a company based in Spain, and they are specialized to do guitar paint and guitar lacquer. I have been using them for a while, and I become an affiliate of them, and they sent me some stuff which I'm thrilled about, and I think that this project is going to work out just brilliantly. And I will take you through all the steps that you need to do to get this thing going, because guitar kits has become quite popular. Yeah, it can be an issue to get them into a factory lacquer, and even to relic them can be hard. Let's start by looking at all the individual parts that you get in this Rocktile kit, and then we can move on how we are going to prep it, and then later we will also have a look at when we lacquer it and all of that. So let's head over to the workbench, and yeah, let's get started. Alright, so you get the kit in one of these boxes, and inside the case you have all the individual parts. This is the wiring program. Yeah, it could be useful, so I am going to save this for later also. And this is the assembly instructions. Maybe we will use this, we will see. This is the electronics, and all the hardware and the plastics is in here. We're not going to focus on that on this video, but it's all here. We're going to focus on these wooden parts today, the body and the neck. Yeah, and as you can see, it's a nice piece of mahogany. It is a 4-piece. If you have trouble to see how many pieces your guitar is made of, a good tip is to look here on the edges. You can see one here, that's one joint, that's another one. They have sneakily put one here just by the output jack. And yeah, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's not laminated. Yeah, it's a nice piece of wood. The routing seems to be pretty well done. This is not a bolt-on neck, this is a glued-in neck. So I want this surface to be maybe a little bit more smoother than it is right now, just to get maximum grip. This is the neck. This is also a mahogany neck, and yeah, I can see a joint here, and there's a joint here down by the heel as well. It's a rosewood fretboard, and that looks really nice actually. And the inlays, yeah, they are good. The fretboard isn't at all dry or anything like that, and also the frets have been polished, and it's yeah, it's an overall good feel, I have to say. I haven't read the instructions yet, but with a little luck you just have to press this tenon right back in the cavity, and that will leave you to the right scale length. But we will look at that a little bit later. This video, as I said before, is more about how you prep the guitar for painting. You can make all sorts of finishes on these types of guitars. If you want the wood grain to shine through, you could use maybe some of this Luthier guitar dye. You have seen me use this on a fretboard before, but it's actually more for the guitars, and that's actually a very easy way to get a nice and smooth finish on guitar. So that's one way to go, but I'm going for the full glossy lacquer. I found this, and I think that this will be absolutely stunning on this guitar. It's the shell pink color. This is like an 80s Flying V, so you don't get any pickguard. So what is the first step that you have to do if you want to lacquer and have this really nice factory looking finish on the guitar? Well, the first thing that you have to do is you have to do something about these pores. You have to have a grain filler. That is the first step. To prep the guitar with a grain filler, then sand it down, and then you can start to put some paint on it. So nitro lac has all sorts of finishes. I found them when I looked for nitro finishes on guitars. When you're in Europe, it's quite hard to find nitrocellulose lacquers and paints to your guitars. I've been using them since, and I really love their products. You can get them in USA, and you can also get them in South America. I will put some links below if you are interested in trying it out yourself. It's a good thing to start on the backside of every project that you do. If you mess up, it's better to have it on the backside than on the front. So this is a grain filler, and you can get some different kinds of grain fillers, and it depends on what kind of color you want, and that depends on what kind of wood you are using it for. And this is a mahogany, so I got this grain filler, and it's the mahogany sorts, and that color will turn out like that. And it's quite firm now as it is. You can use a little bit of water just to make it easier to work with. I usually just put some on my finger, and then I start rubbing it like this, and just spray a little water on it, and then just, it's sort of like plaster. Yeah, you really want to get it down into the pores. So try to press a little bit. So this is not going to create a surface. This is just for filling out the pores or the grains in the wood. When this has dried, and it dries quite fast, we're going to sand it down back to the surface of the guitar, just leaving the grain filler inside the grains or the pores. I'm using water with a little bit of soap in it. Of course, if you want to use Nitro Lac's product on an already existing finish, you can of course do that. You can always put nitro lacquer over another finish. You can put it over a polyfinish, and you can put it over another nitro lacquer. Polyfinish, however, you can't put that on top of nitro lacquer. It will just crack, and it won't crack in that charming way that old guitars do. Yeah, stay away from that. But if you have a polyfinish guitar, you just finish it right over the old finish. I promise you it works great. I have a video about that, which you can check out, and it works great. And I also use the Nitro Lac's products in that video. And that's how it's done. It's like plastering the walls of your bedroom. It's not harder than that. Now you can go over with a spatula here. I think I'm going to do that, just to make the sanding a little bit easier later. When you're using the spatula and removing some of this grain filler, at the same time you are pressing down the grain filler into the pores of the wood. Go with the grains. And try not to scratch the surface. And if you have any comments on how to do this in a different way that I'm doing it, please leave it in the comments. It will be great to learn from you all. I'm sure that there are a bunch of you that does this much better than I do. Now this can sit for maybe a half an hour. So now I've done the whole guitar, and now it's just a waiting game. Let it sit, I think, overnight. Then I can sand it tomorrow. Then it's off to the painting. Yeah, so now I've let this dry. So now we're going to sand it off, and then we're going to apply the first coat of paint. That's a good tip, actually. When you have sanded it down, it can be quite hard to know that you have gotten every low point and every high point. You put on the first coat of paint. Then it will be much easier to see if you need to fix something. I will sand it down, and then I will put the first coat of paint on it. It's good to have a few different type of sanding papers. I usually, when I go for these rounded shapes, I think it's good to have one of these sponges. This is a sponge combined with a sandpaper, and that works really good at these surfaces. If you are sanding something flat, then you can have one of these wooden blocks, and you can put a sandpaper around it. Now we should actually try to take almost everything off. You want to almost have it look like a wooden surface again. Remember, you're just filling the grains and the pores, nothing else. So don't worry if you go all the way down to the bare wood here, that's not a problem. As long as the grains and the pores in the wood are filled with the grain filler. Just try to get it as smooth as you can. And this is just the first coat of paint that I put on the guitar, and it's just to see that all is smooth and to find out if I have to sand any more. This first layer of paint also makes the wood grains rise up a bit, so now it's a good time to sand them down, and then you will get a real nice and smooth surface area on the guitar. Places to look are these places that are a little bit more hard to get to when you're sanding. I probably have to take a little bit more here. On the back side, it all seems pretty smooth. I will take a little bit of water and soap on it. Now is also a good time to glue in the neck on the guitar. So to glue in the neck, I need to find the right position for it. So I need to measure from here down to the bridge. That's 62.75-ish centimeters. So I think that that is quite good. So rock tile has made it quite easy. You just have to put on the neck, put the heel all the way in this humbucker cavity, and yeah, the scale length will be okay. So easy enough for everyone. So a little bit of water. You have this little wooden bit, and then some P1200 sandpaper. You don't have to press hard on this at all. You don't want to take away too much of the paint. You just want to take away the wood grains that's sticking up. Feel the surface with your hand. Really careful when you're doing the edges here, because it's very easy to go through the paint. Yeah, this is going to turn out great. Now, as with all good paint work, the prep work is the most important thing. It's the most dullest thing, but it's the most important thing. You will get rewarded afterwards, I promise you. You don't want any paint here when you're gluing it, so I'm going to have to sand it down. Just draw a line here. That's the neck done. Looks like this. All wooden surface. So I'm using what Gibson are using. This is a tight bond. This is the premium glue, which is water solid. This will work absolutely fine. You want to apply the glue evenly on both surfaces. So you can use a brush, but I usually go for one of these spatulas. Now you will have some overflow of glue here when you do this, but it's easy enough to clean up with some water. Great, so let's just let it sit there for maybe, I don't know, a couple of hours, and we can put on the additional coats of paint. Yes, so the Flying V is shaping up real nice. I have put 4 additional coats of paint on it, and now it is time. I will show you a close-up on how it looks right now, but you can still see some wood grains and whatnot, and there are some imperfections, but we will sort them out. Now it's time to do the first pass of the water sanding, and I will show you how I do that. And when we are moving a little closer here, you can clearly see that you can still see some of the wood grain underneath the paint. My goal is not to see the wood grain on this guitar, although this finish could be really nice also. I know quite a lot of people that wants the finishes and the guitars to look like this. If you have a nice piece of wood underneath the paint, then that could be really nice to display. I don't do a water sanding in between every coat. I feel like that is a little bit of an overkill, but I usually always start on the back. Not that I'm at all worried that this will go wrong, but it's kind of an old habit. So just run your fingers over the surface to see if there are any high points. I can feel some here. When you sand down the high points, there will be a mark there, but don't worry about that. We will take care of that once we apply the additional coats of paint. As before, I'm using a P1200 grit, and since this is not a carved top or anything like that, I can use this wooden bit just to help me to get a real even surface. Now when you get to the edges and you get to somewhere here like the neck heel here, then of course you can't use this, then you have to use your hands, and then you have to be a little bit more careful, especially around the edges. It's very easy to sand through the paint on the edges, so just be careful and it will go great. Put plenty of water here. Just work over the surface with a small amount of pressure. And don't stay too long on each surface. Just try to go over the guitar many times instead. And it's great that you can do this at home. I mean, I don't have any special tools for this. I have a wooden block here. I have a rattle can that I ordered online from Nitro Lack. I got a guitar kit from Rocktile that I ordered from Amazon. And I have some water and soap, some plain wet sandpaper. You can do this at home, I promise you. What you need to get is one of these. But you can get this on Nitro Lack's webpage as well. Don't forget that, that is very important. And then just wipe off the water excess. You can see here that it's all pink. Yeah, and it feels very, very smooth now. Now we'll put 4 more coats of paint on this guitar, and then we'll sand it again. Maybe it's ready for the clear coat then, or maybe it's not. The project just have to take us where we want to be. So don't rush it, just take it step by step, and you will be fine. This will be like a factory finish. All done here in my workshop, using ordinary tools that you all have at home. Don't be afraid of doing these projects. Just find the high spots, sand them down. Don't worry if you go through the paint. That is not an issue in this stage. So I feel happy where I am right now. I got some nice coats on it, and it seems to be ready for the clear coat. But before we can put on the clear coat, we have to put on the color that's going on here on the headstock. And I want a black color here. You need to have all the colors on the guitar before you can put on the clear coat. So obviously the first step is to tape down the headstock. Just let the black come down a little bit over the edge. So you are mimicking Gibson's veneer approach. So I hope you can see what I mean by just leaving a little drop off from the front of the headstock to the sides, and that will make a nice edge. And it's also important that you fill in the holes here, because when you paint it from the other side, there can be some overspray here onto the back side of the headstock. So you need to, well, you can just put something in here, some paper or whatever, and then you tape it over, and that will be fine. Okay, so the next step now, before we put on the clear coat, is to remove all of the tape. I have masked down the side of the neck here, so I wouldn't get any paint on the binding. But now when we are going to put on the clear coat, I want to have some clear coat over the binding. When I remove the tape, when I want a real nice edge here, I usually pull a little bit downwards. And that will reveal a nice and sharp edge. And now it's also time before the clear coat to put on any decals you want to have on the headstock. And I'm using my own brand. Great, so now let's tape this down. So now I have taped down the neck and I have left the binding here, or the sides of the rosewood, so the transition from the paint here and the fretboard here will be smooth, because that's very important when you play. So I want the clear coat to go over here. Also, I put on my logo on the headstock. So now it's ready to get the first coat of clear coat. So now I'm at 7 clear coats all in all, and the guitar feels very smooth, very fine. Now it's time to do the final sanding with the sandpaper that I got from Nitro Lac. So let's move in close and see how I do the sanding. So this is the 2000 grit. I also got my wooden block, and I will use some water and soap. So just remember that you can't make the surface too smooth. That's impossible. Just go over the surface and from time to time just check in on how you're doing. And a good way to do that is just to wipe it down with some ordinary paper, and then just hold the guitar up like this and check it in the light. Then you should be able to see the high and the low spots. You shouldn't underestimate the value of some good sandpaper. Now I have used bad sandpaper, 5, 6, 7 sheets of sandpaper just to get through a guitar. Good sandpaper doesn't do that. You see, the paint doesn't stick to this sandpaper. It does on bad sandpaper. So this is a really nice sandpaper to work with. That's the first run of the 2000 grit sandpaper. Now let's do the exact same thing, but with the 3000 sandpaper. Alright, so the sanding is done. It didn't take more than 30-45 minutes, so it's well worth the time to do it. So now it's time to check out these two compounds. It's the compound cut and the super finish. I'm using my ordinary random orbital polisher. First I'm going to use a medium sponge, and then I'm going to go over with this polishing pad. And that was all that I wanted to show you today. And have you stayed this long in the video, there's no point in resisting a subscription. I hope you had fun, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.